What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for Madolche. So low-key, Madolche has kind of become budget going into like the next format. Granted, the build you're going to see here is not budget, so definitely don't go check out the price of this because I'm playing a lot of expensive staples. You can, though, build the deck in a budget fashion if you do want to go that way. So we're going to do a bit of a Madolche deck profile. This is the last one before Remote Duel YCS. I'm not going to personally be playing this at Remote Duel ICS. I will be playing Dragon Maid, obviously. If you see me there, say hello. You'll see the extra deck sleeves. It'll be a dead giveaway. But before we get started on this one, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into the deck profile. Okay, so starting us off, like always, you do have the 3 copies of Madolche Petting-Cessor. Typically, nothing in your graveyard, special summon it from your hand, special summon from deck. Your typical target will be, of course, the Garnet in the deck, 1 copy of Madolche Pudding Cess. Because we are playing effectively 2 Garnets, I have upped the count to 42. I will normally keep my deck list to 40 cards on the dot, unless there is a reason to go over. The reason in this one is that I'm playing 2 Garnets, and you don't really want to draw them, so mathematically it's fine to increase your count. So we have, of course, the 3 Petting-Cessor, summons the Pudding Cess, reduces its level by 1, XCs, away you go. Next off, we have the primary normal summon. That's 3 copies of Madolche Magulin. Gets you that search for anything in the deck. 3 copies of Angeli, follow that up. This card can be attributed to summon anything from the deck. Again, this is like your 3, the 3 starter cards you have are Petting-Cessor, Magulin, and Angeli. They will get you through the entire combo if you generate one of them. After that, we are playing just 2 copies of Hoot Cake, because this is a blind second build. If you are playing a build that more focuses on going first, then you can up your count to 3 Hoot Cake. I would probably recommend that, because you are playing some more traditional hand traps in those kinds of builds. Of course, if you are going budget as well, upping to 3 Hoot Cake is also not a terrible idea, because you can then play some budget hand traps that would remain in your graveyard. I am only playing 1 of those in this fashion. So we are just playing the 2 Hoot Cake. After that, 2 copies of Messengelato. This is just the standard kind of Madolche line I play when I'm doing this build. 2-2 on the Hoot Cake and Messengelato, because Messengelato can only resolve when Hoot Cake's on field. Then we get into our hand traps. I'm starting off with 3 Shifter. This is the traditional hand trap that will remain in grave. You don't mind overly much, I guess, when you've activated Shifter, because you don't really have stuff in your graveyard. Does stop some effects from resolving, which can be a little bit painful. However, Shifter can just be a massive blowout for a lot of decks in the format, so I do recommend playing it. At the last major event I went to, I did play against Madolche in top 8, I believe it was. He activated Shifter, and then I knew how to manipulate his deck to make it so he couldn't play under Shifter, and it really backfired, so that is something to keep in mind when you are playing Shifter. After that, we've got 3 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. This is just going to be summoning itself down on your opponent's turn, getting you some draws. It does conflict with the next card of the deck, which is 3 copies of Cyframe Gamma, but it is something you're just going to have to kind of get used to. Phantasme can draw a lot of cards in the matchup against Tri-Brigade at the moment, so it is kind of a staple you need to be playing. It also doesn't go to graveyard, of course, which is a good thing for the deck. We do have the 1 driver that follows that up, though. It is the second Garnet in the deck. Then we get into our Madolche spells, so we are on 3 copies of Salon in the current build. It's double summon, and it sets from deck. There's no reason to not be playing 3 of this. It's just too good. 1 copy of Chateau and 1 copy of Ticket follow up. Sorry, just back on the Salon. Salon could be getting, if it is, it's probably one of the more expensive cards in the deck at the moment. It gets a reprint in the coming weeks/months. So the deck will get even cheaper after that. But then we do, of course, have the 1 Chateau, 1 Ticket. They're each searchable. You don't need to play them at more than 1. Then we get into our more flex spots. First off is 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Because your extra deck is pretty much just 3 of the main stuff, Extravagance fits in nicely. You don't really have to be too concerned. Playing Prosperity is bad in this deck because you do want to OTK your opponent typically. You're going to put out around 8,000 damage, so you don't want to be using the using Prosperity and then not being able to OTK. So Extrav is what sits in the main deck. After that, we're going with 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talents. When going second, you're typically not going to be using this to draw cards unless you don't have an Extravagance. You're going to be using it to take stuff from your opponent. So if your opponent uses a Dragoon negate, you can Talents take the Dragoon, and then you've pretty much guaranteed your OTK from that point on. After that, we've got a card to force some monster negates. 3 copies of Lightning Storm. Also deals with back row. In the mid game to grind game, this is probably the worst card in the deck to draw, outside of the Garnets, of course, given that you will typically have continuous spells of field spells face up, so times can get pretty tough if you do top deck a Lightning Storm in the mid game. It's just the risk you take. After that, we've got the next one of, it is one copy of Called by the Grave. You do just want to be called by your opponent's hand traps, or anything that they really try to use to generate, like resources with, and going first, it's kind of good as well. Then we have our trap cards going first. It is 2 copies of Madolche Promenade. You do get that kind of like Dragonmaid Tidying effect, even though this came out the set before Dragonmaid Tidying. This is original Tidying. But you get that bounce, you get the negation, then it also then has that Grave effect. Don't forget the Grave effect, because it is quite good. And then lastly, 1 copy of Madolche Knights. You're going to be using this when you're going first to get that free negation, so it's a good card. Okay, next off we have the extra deck. It is pretty straightforward. It is a 3-3-3-3 line. I think that's the correct number of 3s. But we have, of course, starting off 3 copies of Madolche Princess Shocker a la mode. Just your special summon from the deck when you have the correct materials. Of course, remember, must have the correct materials. After that, 3 copies of Glass Souffle. Can make Madolche's unaffected. Gets you that resource into graveyard. Then you can kind of play from there. 3 copies of Queen Tiramisu, follow that up. This is your non-target shuffle. This breaks boards incredibly easily. Opponents will always read it and be like, wait, this doesn't target. It doesn't target. Fun times. Next off after that, if you want to trim anything to fit more stuff in, I would recommend trimming down your fresh sit starts. I rarely use fresh sit start when I'm comboing off, unless there's like an interaction that requires it. So it's probably the one I would recommend slimming down on first if you're going to start cutting down on your Madolche numbers. Then getting into the final 3, 1 copy of Omega to make off the Gamma. Then we have 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, just because it can shut down a lot of stuff at the moment, and you're going to easily generate 2 level 4s on the board. Just be careful that you don't get locked into Madolche and attempt to make a Dweller, because you will get locked when you're doing the standard combo. And then lastly, we have a Zeus. Zeus is just very unfair at the moment, so here he is. But that wraps up here for the deck profile for this one. So if you are playing in Remote Duels YCS, I believe that will be tomorrow, or at least it's tomorrow my time when this video goes up. Do comment down below what you're going to be playing. If you do see me there, say hello. Gonna be more than happy to answer questions and stuff like that. I guess we'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully Dragonmaid best deck. Although I'm not expecting to do overly well. The fact that it starts at 6 PM here my local time is like a lot more helpful than it looked like it was going to be, because it looked like it was going to start in the middle of the night. Anyway, I will see you guys there. Do make sure to hit that like button, comment down below any changes you would normally recommend, and as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.